So I'm in the woods again, which is where I get all my inspiration. So I'm going with it. Okay, so this video is about the function of the moon and Saturn, the Capricorn Cancer axis, and my suggestions for integration. So first, let me just kind of remind you why I think this is absolutely critical for our soul's evolution, individual but also societal. So I'm just looking to keep my social distance in the woods. And it is because we had a Pluto-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn in January, and it was on the Capricorn Cancer axis. And as you know, that's our soul's mandate, new soul's mandate. And we'll have the test of how well we're doing with this mandate, how well we are evolving, or how well are we doing our inner work, soul work, in about 8 years. I think it's 2028. I don't have the dates in front of me now, but when the two Pluto-Saturn are going to make the first quarter square, so that's a kind of reality check. And I'm going to mention now as it came to me, but in my presentation I mentioned it, but there's like a prediction I've seen some time ago about this pandemic coming back, apparently in 10 years, the same coronavirus, or whatever, they didn't call it coronavirus, but like to do with the pneumonia with lungs, which is the whole story about how we need to breed on our own, which is, you know, to give birth to ourselves. The birth metaphor is because the baby, once it's out of the mother's body, as it were, is autonomous in terms of their lung function and breathing. I do believe I'm right here. Okay, I'll assume I am. I'm no mother, so I wouldn't know, but I can't remember if I actually studied that in school. So those are the reasons why it's so important, because there is no healthy individual or emancipated individual without integrating Saturn and Moon or Capricorn Cancer axis, because, like I said, the test will happen not just because it's the first quarter square, but because we'll have a reverse nodal return then. And reverse nodal return is like the future meets past in the present, and it's kind of integrating. And when you kind of, it's almost like having this luxury of seeing all those three timelines in front of you, so you can clearly do your work, as in like decide what's good for you or what's not good for you, what you're taking going forward, what not. It's just such an amazing time to experience reverse nodal return. So that's why Cancer Capricorn axis is to integrate it is so important for the next 8 years. The sooner the better. And to help you with that, I have a question for you, and then I'll give you my take on it, how I work with that, or how I answer that question. So the question for you is, can you be helpful without helping? In other words, can you see yourself as a helpful person? Can you identify yourself as someone who's helpful without actually helping? Now, as you hopefully, well, if it's obvious, then you can now close this video, but if not, if you want to stick around for kind of elaboration and explanation of why I'm making this distinction between being helpful and helping, one is passive, one is active. The first one, being helpful, is passive. I think it's literally in grammar, it is passive. And then helping is an active verb. And so helping in this context means reaching out of yourself, your container, Capricorn, Saturn, right? Reaching out to fill someone else's request, hole, H-O-L-E, gap of something they identify they need your help with. All this stuff, sorry, you don't see my hand, all this stuff is Cancer archetype or Moon. So the needs, being nurturing others, being the mothering type and all the rest. So that's helping you, coming out of yourself, going out of your way is another expression, isn't it? To do something for someone else. Being helpful is being all those things for yourself. going out of your getting out of your way, is that the expression, and then being helpful to yourself, meeting your own needs, filling your own holes, HOLES, taking ownership and responsibility for being that Cancer type figure archetype to yourself. And how you know is because you bring in Saturn, who's a definer, who defines and literally like contains and makes distinction between where something ends, the borders, the boundaries, right? But also think of it, language, definition is, Saturn word, and yet it's what's your definition that you're helpful to yourself, that you are looking after yourself first and foremost, is that you're doing it in your own container, you're not spilling out Saturn, right? So why is this spilling out in itself is not a bad thing, at least this is all my view, obviously, as you know by now, hopefully, and how I use astrology to help me, how I work with astrology, how astrology points my way, my path to me in this language. So like I say, spilling out is not bad in itself, but it's what you're spilling out. So if you're not looking after this container, if you're not cleaning those waters, whatever, if it's a liquid or energetic liquid or whatever, you have in your container, whether it's a body container, all of these containers, emotional, psychic, body, all of these are containers, right? So unless you are tending to your own container and being helpful to yourself, in that sense, what you spill will not be helpful, will be tainted, will be murky, will be unhealthy, will be unclean. And that's another one you hear me talk often. But so spilling in itself is not bad as long as you're spilling something that's clean. So like giving someone water that actually is drinkable, right? But there is a bigger piece here, which is where I'm going with my integration of Cancer Capricorn axis, is that I'm basically displaying my self-care. I'm making it apparent and obvious, or it's on display, so it's on this platform here, and there's another one I'm launching next week, that's being helpful. By being helpful, so I'm being visible and transparent and showing, and that's all I'm doing. That's all that my work is. And in doing so, I'm helping. So I'm not reaching out specifically going to anyone or connecting with anyone, and in connecting actually helping. No, by just exhibiting and showing, displaying my own self-care. And I don't mean, well, whatever my self-care, version of self-care is for me, right? I'm being helpful. So, like I said, I took it a step further, or took a step closer back to myself, to say, no, I'm actually going to practice not even spilling, because I'm still not, like I say, there's this sense of like something about the spilling I'm not 100% good with. It doesn't feel right. So I'm going to first experiment and or go with this sense of that there's no need to spill, as long as I just am available and show how I do my self-maintenance and self-help. That will be more than enough to be helpful to others. So I satisfy my need to play a meaningful and I was going to say helpful role in the bigger picture. But more importantly, I'm actually helping and doing good for me as well, or for me, full stop. So that's it. Those are my thoughts from the woods for today on Cancer Capricorn axis, and keep up the good work.